Hi students, in this section we're going to be working with graphing linear equations. So a few definitions here that I want you to write down and an example as well. What we're going to be working with is solution of an equation. And what that means is when you have an ordered pair like x comma y, you need to determine if your x comma y make an equation true. So here I have an example where it says decide whether the given ordered pair is a solution of the equation. So this is like solution or no solution answer. Here they're giving you an ordered pair -3, 3, and they give you this equation x plus 3y equals 6. What I'm going to do is take that ordered pair, -3, 3, plug it into the equation to make sure it equals 6. So x is -3, so -3 plus 3 times 3, and we need to determine if the left side equals the right side, meaning the left side equals 6. So let's solve this using orders of operation. 3 times 3 is 9. -3 plus 9, does that give me 6? It does. So 6 equals 6, and this is a solution of the equation. So we can say this is a solution of the equation. Now if I had another ordered pair, let's say 1, 2, and that does not equal 6, then that answer would be not a solution. So once we determine that the ordered pairs are solutions of the equation given to you, then you're going to be graphing, where it says graph the equation. So what you're going to be doing in this section is you're going to be given an equation, for instance, like maybe something like that. You are going to pick x values, solve for y, and then you're going to graph that ordered pair, and then it's going to create a linear graph for you. So we're going to work and look at some examples of this right now. I do want to mention before we get into graphing and going through this process, there are some steps to think about when you're solving this. The first one is we want to rewrite the equation in the function form, and we've learned the function form, which is in the form of y equals mx plus b. So y is all by itself, and then we have the number connected with your x plus the number alone is your b. So put it in the function form if it's necessary, if it's not in that form. You're then going to choose a few x values. I always pick like at least 3 values. Sometimes it's always good to do negative and positives as well. And then when you choose x values, you're then going to make a table of values, which is going to give you an ordered pair. You're then going to plot the points from the table of values, and it's going to create a line, which is your graph of the equation. It's going to create a linear line, the graph of the equation. So let's work with this. It says here we have an equation. It's y plus 2 equals 3x. We first need to think, is it in the form of y equals mx plus b? This equation is not. So we're going to take y plus 2 equals 3x and put it in this form right here. So what I'm going to do is get y by itself. I'm going to take the inverse operation of plus 2, which is subtract 2 to both sides. So what I'm going to end up with, writing it in the mx plus b form, it's going to be y equals, mx is that 3x, so 3x minus 2. So I rewrote it in the y equals mx plus b form. Step 2 is, this is where I'm going to create a table of values. So I'm going to create a XY chart table here. I'm going to choose 3 points. The lower the numbers are, the easier it's going to be able to work with. I like to choose a lot of times -1, 0, and 1. If you want to choose more points to help you visually see it, feel free to do that. I just chose any random x values. What I'm going to do with these x values is plug it into this equation that I just put together and solve for y. So here I have 3 times x, well x is -1, minus 2. -3, so 3 times -1 is -3 minus 2 is going to give me negative 5. So that'll be my y. Now I'll plug in 0 for x, so 3 times x is 0 minus 2. 3 times 0 is 0 minus 2 is going to give me negative 2. So my y value here would be negative 2. Now I'll plug in 1 for x, so 3 times 1 minus 2. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 gives me 1. So notice I have my x and my y. These are ordered pairs. Think of this as an ordered pair. Negative 1 comma negative 5. 0 comma negative 2. 1 comma 1. And I'm going to plot these 3 points on this coordinate plane. And you'll see it creates a linear graph. So negative 1, negative 5. I always start at the origin. Negative 1, I go to the left one, and I go down to negative 5. And I'm going to put my first point. 0, negative 2. So I start at 0. I'm not going left or right because we're at 0 for x. And I go down to negative 2. And I plot my point. 1 comma 1. Starting at the origin 0, 0. I go to the right one. And I go up 1. And I plot my point. Notice these 3 points. They're all going in a linear direction. I can connect these points to draw a straight linear line, and that's what you're going to be doing in this section. Make sure it's going to be helpful for you to use graph paper for this section and a straight edge. I need you to use a straight edge when you're connecting these points. So whether it's your student ID you use as a straight edge or you have a ruler, protractor, please draw straight lines because I will need you to do that on your quiz and tests for this chapter. So the last thing you're going to see in this section is graphing horizontal and vertical lines. This chart here, yes, I want you to write this chart down. It says, in the coordinate plane, the graph of y equals b, that is a horizontal line. So, for instance, here we have this example. When you are given an example like y equals 2, you're going to go up on the y-axis to 2, you're going to put your point, and then you're going to draw your your horizontal line. For the next one, it says in the coordinate plane when the graph of x equals a, that's creating a vertical line. So whenever x equals just a number, so for instance, if you had x equals negative 3, you'll go along the x-axis, find negative 3, put a point, and you'll draw your vertical line that represents that. So here I have examples also. So here's that y equals 2, what I just did. That graph represents that. And then x equals negative 3, it's over here, so I go along the x-axis, put a point at negative 3, and I draw my vertical line. So that is it for this section, and we'll continue to practice this.